Hello, Rabbanit Shira.
Shalom, Rabbanit Hamutal. So my daughter, my amazing daughter, she's in 12th grade, and every year they have a project of the youth movement. She's part of Ezra, and every year they're collecting money throughout all the year. They're making us crazy. And then at the end, in July, they have a week of a summer camp for kids with disabilities.
Beautiful.
So they bring kids, now they're bringing kids from the north because they suffered from the war. So they bring them over to Efrat for a week.
Wow.
And they're doing pe'iluyot, activities for these kids throughout a week. So throughout all the year,
They fundraise for
that. And then it's like a 1 year of a week that is like full of activities,
Beautiful.
full of fun, and all the youth is around it. So my daughter last year, at the end of this week, asked me, we have some money left. Can I do an evening of dinner to all the madrichim, to all the counselors that did the Keitana? Can I use the money that I took from people, and I told them, this is
dedicated for the camp.
Bidyuk, this is for kids with disabilities. Can I use that money in order to have a night of closure and to say to all the madrichim thank you and to think about next year?
Or it's not allowed to use the money for a different reason and not actually for the camp itself.
No, they had a whole discussion because they said, Rega, we took the money from people. We told the people this is for the camp. Is this part of the camp?
Wow.
Because the camp is already over.
Beautiful question.
Beautiful question. And I told her at the end, of course, you can use it, but don't
overdo it.
Don't overdo it. Meaning you're not going to go out to a restaurant, but you can do in your sneak.
A small barbecue for the
Yeah, you can do like a night of saying thank you nicely to everyone and thinking about next year. And they did think about next year, and now they're already working about, and this July, Be'ezrat Hashem, they're going to have this beautiful camp again. And it's part of dealing with money, and not just dealing with money, but dealing with tzedakah. They know that they're taking money from people because people want to be part of this beautiful project. But how much are you allowed to use that money for different purposes?
So this week in the Gemara, we're talking about actually changing the purpose of money or something that you dedicated for the Mikdash, for example, korbanot or simanim of the Ktoret, and asking what happens if we are not going to use this cow or this, whatever they use for the Ktoret, and we want to change its use. Are we allowed to do it or not? And the term that we're going to speak about today is lev Beit Din matne alehem. Okay, so
let's try and translate that. It's a hard one. The heart of the court, of the rabbinical court, the heart of the Beit Din, matne alehem is like giving them conditions or
giving them permission. To change the use of the money or the cow or whatever it is.
So there's a condition when you give truma
that maybe
that the Beit Din, the condition is that you're giving it to the Beit Din and the Beit Din can use it.
It's only bounding when we're talking about korbanot tzibur, something public that the whole public is using, and we want to change it. And Rabbi is asking in the Gemara, there's a question that Rabbi is going to answer. If you want to use these things, but we already dedicated them for the Mikdash, they're holy now, they're kedoshim now. So what are we going to do about this holiness? Amar Rabba. Lev Beit Din matne alehem. When you buy it, then you know that you can change its destination if you need it. Im utzrechu to Beit HaMikdash lakodesh utzrechu ve'im lav yu kedoshim rak lidmehem. Meaning you can buy something with and change it into money, and then you can repurpose the money. Meaning the holiness is going down.
It's not on the cow itself,
exactly,
but it's on the value of the cow.
B'diuk biglal she lev Beit Din matne alehem. Meaning when you first dedicated the cow, you said maybe, just maybe we're not going to use the cow, we're going to use a different one. There are all kind of discussion that you'll see in the Gemara. But the question is, what does that mean, lev Beit Din matne alehem?
So the Ritba is saying, why are we saying the heart of the Beit Din? Why can't we just say Beit Din is giving them permission?
Yeah.
And the Ritba is saying, because this is the place where they're allowed to use their right mind,
their judgment,
their decision making. They're allowed to look at the connotation, the situation, and to say, this is the place where we're allowing this, we're changing that, we're doing that, we're taking the money from here to there.
Right.
Meaning the Beit Din have the ability to decide. This is why Ritva is saying, this is why they're using the word live.
Right.
It's not just the Beit Din, but it's the conscious of the Beit Din, or it's the toda'ah of the Beit Din to what they're using those money.
So the Rambam in Ilchot Psulei Mikdashim is trying to explain what happens if something is off, nifsal zevach, you can't bring it as a korban. What are you going to do with this animal? So the Rambam is explaining, bekorban tzibur, you can change its destination, its yi'ud. Why? Mipnei shelev bet adin matnei alehem. Meaning, בקורבן ציבור חכמים התכוונו מראש שאם יהיה בו פסול, something will go wrong, אפילו לאחר השחיטה, לא יתקדשו הנסכים להקרבה דווקא עם קורבן זה, אלא עדיין יוכלו להקדישם ולנסחם לקורבן שחוט אחר. You're saying not everything goes down the drain, you can change the zevach, because it's korban tzibur, it's a public korban, and lev bet din matneh, meaning there's kind of a condition saying if something goes wrong, we can change it. Because this is what we intended to begin with. So it only happens in korban tzibur.
So the Tosfot in Masechet Ketuvot that are dealing with exactly the same sugya, again about korbanot, the Tosfot in Ketuvot are saying the emphasis here is that when you give your donation, you're saying to yourself, I'm giving this donation to something very specific. I'm giving this cow for the korban. But you're basically also saying, I'm giving permission to the Beit Din. I'm giving it to the Beit Din, and the Beit Din can do whatever they want with it. Because I think this whole system is built on trust. The person that is giving is saying, I want to give it to something public, and the Beit Din will decide what to do with it. Meaning there's a precondition from the person that is giving that truma to say the Beit Din has, I'm giving him permission to use it to whatever he wants. And that's why lev bet din matneh alehem.
So even if you think this is holy and this exact cow is the one that you want to be part of korban tzibur, or whatever donation that you give, you know that you're a part of a system and you trust the Beit Din to do whatever they can, and you can't decide about everything because it's a big system in the Bet Mikdash and everything has to keep working, and you say, okay, Bet Din is in charge, lev bet din matneh alehem. And it's interesting because they don't actually need to do the condition.
They don't actually need to say
it.
I am giving it to Beit Din, but I'm giving the Beit Din permission. No, it's like a rule
the assumption that that's what we're
the
doing.
Underline that everyone knows.
So the question is, we don't have korbanot anymore. We don't have Torah anymore, but we still use this term.
We still use this term, but we also still give tzedakah to places in order for the tzedakah to go for things that are in kedusha. For example, I'm giving money to Beit Knesset to buy chairs. I'm giving money to Beit Knesset to buy sidurim or chumashim or aron kodesh or building the Beit Knesset or whatever that is. So I'm giving my money in a donation for something very specific as far as I'm concerned. I want it to be built for Beit Knesset. But then let's say something happens and they've already got enough money to buy kisaot, and I thought that I'm giving the money in order to buy chairs. Can the Beit Knesset use that money in order to buy something else? Or can the Beit Knesset use that furniture that he bought with my money? Nachon, I gave money to buy chairs for the Beit Knesset. Can the Beit Knesset use those chairs for other things?
For example, they're furniture in shul, and you want to use it for a Bat Mitzvah. Are you allowed to? Or is it mekudash, and you can't use it differently?
Because it's already dedicated to Beit Knesset, so you can't use it to other activities.
Okay, so this was discussed in Shulchan Aruch.
Shulchan Aruch, Or HaChaim, they're talking about Tashmishei Kedusha, and then the Rama is giving a comment. Nahagu lehenot bekama hanaot midivre kedusha. It's custom that you are able to enjoy
and
the
things from shul.
Things that are meant to be for kedusha, but you can use them for other things. כגון מטפחות של ספרים ושולחן שבבית הכנסת ומעילים של ספר תורה. For example, in our shul, we daven in a room that we rent from the matnas. So we have a lot of chairs and a lot of tables, and during the week they can use those chairs and tables differently to other activities that they need. So Rama will say, not a problem. וכתבו הטעם, משום דכיוון שנהגו כן, ואי אפשר להיזהר, לב בית דין מתנה עליהם.
Meaning we know that people would use the chairs and the tables, not only for davening, for different purposes. So what we're saying is, lev beit din matneh. There's an assumption that the whole community agrees that you don't have to say precondition that you're going to use it, but you know that people will. So this is kind of an agreement.
Because that's how Kila rolls. That's how community rolls, and everyone understands that this is part of dealing with it. Yeah, we don't want to say that it's not allowed, because then everyone will still use it, and then they're doing something that is wrong. We want to say it's fine. You can use whatever you want. You don't have to say it specifically, the precondition, and it's obvious for everyone that it's like, that's the basic condition. When you buy chairs to shul, you know that people will use them for the school as well. At least in Israel. I don't know.
So it's beautiful that this term starts in the Gemara about korbanot, about something that looks very remote from our life today, but we're still living in communities and we still know the human nature, and people would use things differently, even if we're not talking about cows and cattle or whatever. But it is important to say, as a community, we give permission to the Beit Din to run things, and we trust them.
It's a trust system.
Yeah.
Enjoy Masechet Shavuot.
Keep learning. Shavua Tov.
Shavua Tov.